Hey guys, Aiden here from Push Square, and in front of me I have the God of War Ragnarok story trailer playing, because I've had this thing in a loop for days. It is incredible. It was revealed at State of Play this week and oh my god, it looks incredible. Stunning visuals, a look at some new enemy types, mechanics, locations and some story beats in here as well. So today I wanted to break down the biggest takeaways from this story trailer in a God of War Ragnarok breakdown, and just to cover my back, these could be considered spoilers, so if you want to go into it as blind as possible, maybe this video isn't for you, but be sure to like and subscribe to the channel before you head off, as we offer up a ton of other video content in the world of PlayStation. Okay, so let's get into this God of War Ragnarok story trailer breakdown. Straight out of the gate, I just loved how much of a sequel this feels like. We are seeing Kratos and Atreus in a new, part-developed stage of their relationship, and the trusting bond between them is immediately put to question with this opening line.
Everyone keeps secrets.
So what secrets would Atreus keep from Kratos? It's hard to say at this point, but I'd reckon it would have something to do with Atreus' understanding of Ragnarok. With the knowledge that Atreus is actually Loki, the god of mischief, I can't help but feel a little nervous about the whole thing. From this opening shot, we see Atreus touch a flaked tree, leaving a mark of light. It's very reminiscent of the tree marked by his mother Faye in the first game, the mark that was secretly protecting both him and Kratos. I am very much getting the vibes that this could be the end of the line for Kratos, and we get our first hint of that with the God of War dropping his weapons quite dismissively, which is surprising considering how careful Kratos could be with the Leviathan axe in the 2018 game. And just as an additional note, this is supposedly Brock and Sindri's house, the dwarven smiths from the last game. We knew that Týr was going to be in it from the last trailer, but here we actually get confirmation of not only his escape from imprisonment at the hands of Kratos, but the Greek and Norse gods of war will actually work together. But Týr doesn't seem to be best pleased with Kratos, deeming him the god killer, which could either be in reference to the deaths of Magni, Modi and Balder, or perhaps he even knows what Kratos has done in his own Greek realm. We get our very first silhouetted look at what is believed to be Odin. Odin has been known to take the form of the Wanderer, so it could be that design or just a different interpretation here, but I really like this smaller, older man look, which will play quite in line with the mind games that Odin is no doubt going to play on Kratos. We already hear this as he questions whether Kratos has ever been loved or prayed for. It's bringing into question what it means to be a god, something that ultimately Kratos has been avoiding for the past few years. This shrine seems to be a prophecy of someone leading an army. I have to think that that someone is Loki. I did see online that some of the runes could be something to do with the Jotuns, which of course would tie into Loki. He is half Jotun, but I couldn't find confirmation on this. We see Atreus carrying a black or blue ball. This could be the same one he carries in the last trailer, but people smarter than me have noted that the markings on it read Hati. That means that these are either used to summon or maybe even communicate with Skull and Hati, the wolf children of Fenrir, who also happens to be Loki's child. Yeah, that'll be another video no doubt. We see Atreus pleading with his father to trust him, and Kratos exclaiming that despite not understanding or even believing what they are doing, he's followed Atreus every step of the way. This is quite a change from what we saw in 2018. There's been a shift in the power dynamic here, as previously Atreus was the sheltered child ushered into a world by his father. Now it looks like Santa Monica may be hammering in the fact that this is actually Atreus' world and Kratos is the outsider. We see a shrine which features Yggdrasil, the world tree, Týr both imprisoned and then running with what is presumably Skull and Hati. I think this is why we end up saving Týr, as he is needed to summon the wolves. We see that Jotunheim is scored off again. We know that we will go to all 9 realms, but maybe Jotunheim is locked off for the majority of the game again. I'm not sure what these other parts of the marking are, maybe a showcase of the different realms like Svartalheim and Jotunheim, but let me know what you think. Following that, we get a look at Freya taking the mistletoe arrow from Atreus. In the previous game, Atreus and Freya were quite fond of each other, but of course the death of her son Balder at the hands of Kratos put a bit of a wedge between them. This could be the moment that Freya realises that Atreus had a bigger part to play in Balder's death than she initially realised. We then see two Valkyries in what seems to be Ginnungagap, which is a void between realms, something that also created the realms. This fight is going to be killer. We only faced one at a time in the previous game, and those were hard boss fights, I'll tell you. These Valkyries seem to be willingly working with Odin rather than corrupted like they were in the previous game, so we can see that Odin's presence is going to be felt a lot more in Ragnarok. What I found particularly interesting is that one of the Valkyrie calls Kratos Pretender God. What are your theories on this? I'd maybe say that it's because he's not from their realm, but maybe there's something I missed from the last game. We also get our first look at Helheim in this game, which was featured in the last, but I thought I'd mention it here. We get a quick look at one of the new shields, but we'll likely cover combat in another video, but we are using it on Dark Elves in this scene. These of course were the big enemy of the Alfheim segment of the game, when we pretty much ended their revolution over the Light Elves, and were left with a worrying final statement from one of the elves that we had pretty much betted on the wrong side. Maybe we'll see a follow-up for our actions here. We can see the light of Alfheim in the background here, and of course, we visit it with Tyr as seen earlier in the trailer. This section of the trailer could be our first look at Vanaheim, the home of the Vanir, and we face off against a new, cool-looking night enemy. This area was not visited at all in the previous game, and it really stands out with a more lush, foresty look. Now this thing looks insane. If I had to guess, I'd assume that it is maybe like a trap set rather than a volcano that is alive, just because the point of focus for Kratos is this glowing purple rune. With all the lava, this has to be Muspelheim, so we'll probably see Sutra and Elden Jotun, big into fire and a major player in Ragnarok. You've probably seen this dude in Thor Ragnarok. We get a shot of Kratos panting heavily, blood on his chest, with Odin calling him the monster that kills without cause. We could be looking at Kratos' reaction to a pretty atrocious act. If I had to guess, I'd say he might be killing Freya here. We know that she is gunning for him. We saw how ruthlessly he killed her son. Maybe Freya's death will be a major event that thrusts our heroes into their quest, and it has to be pointed out we never actually see Freya outside of a snowy area. However, saying that, we do see what looks like Freya's powers in this scene, the trees being pulled down. There's a lot of speculation over who this person is that's on Kratos' back. Some people think it's Angerboda, others think it's Freyr, who is not to be confused with Freya. He is the male counterpart to Freya, so I can't wait to see why Freya would be attacking him, or Kratos is saving him, who knows. Then we got this beauty of a shot. Kratos, Atreus, Skull and Hati, and a solar eclipse. So these two wolves are said to be the beginning of Ragnarok. If they swallowed the sun and the moon, then Ragnarok will begin. So we see Atreus firing his arrow, which seems to cause the sun to move, and one of the wolves begins to chase it. A lot of things that could be taken away from this. Are Atreus and Kratos trying to start Ragnarok? Is this a way to prevent it? Let me know what you think down below. We then see the light of Alfheim once more. We know that Kratos will be keen to check this one out after hearing the voice of his partner Faye in the last game, but I'd imagine there's some purpose, maybe questions that can be answered by entering the light. We then see a mermaid, and a lot of people think that this is Ran, the goddess of the sea. There is this awesome looking frozen tree which is covered in golden ravens, which I assume are the eyes of Odin. Some online speculation states that this is the tree of which Odin hung himself. This was a part of Odin's self-sacrificial quest to learn all of the knowledge he could of the realms. I don't know how it could be tied into the story or why Kratos or Atreus would even be there. Now I have no idea what this giant jellyfish is, but we can once again see the light of Alfheim in the distance. We see Tyr holding one of the blades of chaos, but I don't actually think he'll be using it. It's possibly just to allow Kratos to help him up. We know that Kratos isn't going to be too keen on trusting another god, but perhaps along the way they learn to like each other. And lastly, we get this short clip of a clash between Kratos and the mighty Thor, which looks to be on the frozen lake of the Nine. with Tyr's temple just behind them. I cannot wait to see some of the showdowns between these two ferocious beasts, and just a little extra, you get to see Thor clicking his fingers in some way to bring the hammer back. Okay guys, that was a way bigger video than I had originally intended, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know some of your best theories along with some of the things that I missed out on in this breakdown. Of course, remember to like and subscribe for more God of War content. I've got some pretty exciting lore explanations planned for the run up to Ragnarok's release, so be sure to stick around for those. Anyway guys, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time on Push Square.